welcome back to the podcast. We're here with Steve Kidd. That's Kidd with 2 Ds. That's Kidd. Now, Steve is a best-selling author. He's a business coach and he's a radio show host. And he's passionate about helping you specifically share your stories and achieve your dreams. And Steve knows that there's like being an author versus being a best-selling author. And there's even something that comes after that. So we're going to get the juicy secrets from Steve. So Steve, glad to be talking to you.
Thanks for having me here today, Robert. I appreciate it.
And I appreciate you too. And so I love this topic because it's hard enough to get a whole book created, right? To think of your idea and do all the writing. And a lot of people think that that's the finish line. And guys like you and me are saying, no. Now it's time to go on your book tour, to do the social posting, to get on podcasting. So can you tell us what authors or future authors need to know to be woken up and see the light and do what they need to do to get super famous?
Absolutely. So as I wrote in my 20th book, bestseller is only the beginning. The best way to equate a bestseller is the same concept as graduating from medical school. You know, you walk across the stage and you are then forever on, you are a doctor. You have graduated medical school, but all that really means is you have passed a test that shows that you have an expertise in anatomy and physiology. At the end of the stage, nobody's going to hand you a prescription pad and let you prescribe medicine. Nobody's handing you a scalpel and letting you cut into people. That is where the work of being a doctor and the learning really starts, is after you've graduated. Being a best-selling author is really the day one concept that creates the foundation from the marketing world, everything we're going to do beyond that.
I love it. And I love that analogy where like a doctor, then they have to go and do some kind of internship or residency or whatever, and they even get like certified and attend conferences. And it's like a lifelong process. And it's not even a matter of like they do medical school and do this other work. If years later, if they decide to stop, then even then they'll be behind. And so if there's some author out there who says, well, geez, now I'm overwhelmed, right? Now you're telling me I have to do all this other marketing effort, I should just quit before I even start. Now, what do you say to that?
Well, the bottom line is, Seth Godin said it so elegantly. He said, if you're writing your book to make money, then don't. But if you want to make money, you absolutely have to have a book. What I can tell you as a marketing company, I've been a marketing professional since 1987, doing digital marketing since before we even had the internet. What I can tell you is that you will never maximize the potential of the marketing for yourself, your company, your product, your good, your service, if you don't have attached to that those little words, bestseller.
And so how does someone become that coveted bestseller? Is it all about the launch, the money, the plan, all the above? What does it take?
Well, it's a system. I always feel like when I'm asked this question, like I'm the person who told you that there was no Santa Claus, that it was actually your parents putting the presents under the tree. Sorry for anybody that didn't know that. But the truth of the matter is there is an algorithm in Amazon, and understanding Amazon's algorithm, because Amazon's the only one that is statistically driven. All the rest of them are editorials and are really just reflections of the fact that Walmart made a huge purchase of a person's book. So they don't necessarily have anything to do with whether people liked the book, got the book, any of that kind of thing. So we are talking about Amazon, and it is really about doing the things, which really boils down to Amazon's a search engine, and you have to do the SEO for the search engine that is Amazon for your book, just like you would for a website if you wanted to be ranked in Google.
So what I'm hearing from you so far is that there's all these places you could look at, charts and rankings about your book, but only focus on Amazon. And then the first logical step towards listing on Amazon is to look at it from an SEO, search engine optimization perspective, where people are doing searches. You have real estate where you can work with the title, with your description, with your keywords. And so what do people get wrong with this whole Amazon SEO thing? Do they not look at competitors? Do they guess about keywords? Do they not use all of their word real estate? Where do people mess up with this Amazon SEO?
Most definitely, yes. It starts right at title. Most of the time we want to say what the problem is rather than what the solution a person is looking for. Most of the time when we search for things, we're looking for an answer. We're not looking for, people to just commiserate with us on a problem. So that's where it starts, is how do we title the book? We want to title the book as an outcome, as an answer to a question. And then secondarily to that is in the description. Most people do not start off their description with something that's engaging. The most recent statistic says now that we have like 3 seconds to capture a person. So title and the first line of our description is the most a person's going to read. And if that description doesn't start off by saying, this is what it's going to do for you, just flat out doesn't say that, then, people are going to be like, well, I got to go find something that's going to do what I want for me. Keywords, often, almost always with keywords, we put what we think are the words people would use rather than actually just doing the research, finding out what words are people using and searching for. And then, of course, categories as well. Most people think, well, this book is going to be really helpful, so I'll just put it in self-help. And go head to head with Oprah and Tony Robbins and people like that, rather than understanding that, you're talking about something, though it may be helpful, that may be inspirational, it may be personal development, it may be, spiritual in nature. It could have a lot of different nuances, none of which very often are actually in self-help or any of the subcategories of self-help.
So some of these things you're mentioning, I imagine that a lot of authors haven't even considered them, right? It's like you're in the situation where you ask the question and don't know the answer, but some of these things you're mentioning, people aren't even asking these questions. So, and it's kind of interesting to think about that. Well, am I talking about the problem or the solution? And you say to make your book title about the solution because that's kind of more profound, and then to look at that kind of opening couple of lines in the book description, because that's kind of like a sales letter, almost like a headline. It's the first thing that someone sees. So we need to get them captured with some sort of a hook to get them to pay attention and to read more. And you're also saying that there's that tendency to say, well, I'm just going to put my book in the self-help category because who wouldn't want it, which is a dangerous way of thinking, especially these days when so many things are customized. I mean, there's so many like TV shows I haven't heard of, right? There's just so many options out there. And if you just say, I want to rank number one above everyone else, that doesn't really work. But if you niche down and say, if someone is looking for my exact book, then I want to be right in front of them. It seems like a more logical way of going about it. And so when you say, okay, I want to be a bestseller, or I want to, you have some new client that says, make me a bestseller, Steve, is there like a 30-day or a 90-day process? Is there some sort of calendar that forms in your head where you say, like, I need to have this in place, this in place? It's, like you said before, there was like a formula. Like what does the calendar look like as far as getting the bestseller status?
It's a very specific formula, 30 to 90 days. We're talking about somebody who doesn't have the book written. If the book's already written, we can expedite that, quicker than that. But 30 to 90 days. I always say, if you're taking longer than 90 days for the writing and the publishing part of your book, then there's something else going on. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Could be that, you met the girl of your dreams and you're madly in love and the book just isn't as important as it was before you met her. I mean, it could be any kind of cool things. It doesn't have to be bad stuff. But when the book is what is our priority, if we go beyond 90 days, that's really basically a sign that it isn't really our priority.
That's a good insight. And you're making me think that, like, pretty much any project, if I don't have some sort of finished, mile marker by the end of 90 days, then it's a whole beast. And even if it's like something where like a website or a podcast, at least by 90 days, I'll have something tangible, something that I can always go back and revisit, revise, make the second edition. But there's like that thought process of like, who are you evolving as a person? And if you don't look at your past self 6 months or a year ago, and if you cringe, you're doing it right. I mean, you're always evolving. And when I look at my writing, blog posts, books from a couple of years ago, I think like, whoa, I've changed so much. I would have written that way differently. And so I think like if I was caught in many months or many years of writing a book, and with my opinions changing, learning changing, I mean, I would drive myself crazy. If I spent 6 months or longer on a book, I'd be going back to the beginning and changing stuff. So it makes a lot of sense for you saying in 90 days or less, be really focused, be good about your time management, work on it every day. That way you can get to that finish point before your whole brain and your personality changes again. And that's reassuring too, because like we were saying at the beginning of our conversation, there's the time of writing your book where people get themselves so tired about that. And then this comes time to then promote the book. And so we don't want to get tired before it becomes time to begin our medical career, to use your analogy there. And so do you have any tips and techniques for getting that book written fast? Because you said like we need to get it out quickly. Is it a matter of like time blocking, working with a team, asking the right questions? Like what are your secrets to getting it done quickly?
Absolutely. So number one, and we'll even go back to the 90 days for a second. What I found over the years of coaching, because I've been working with business professionals and helping them for years and years. When you find that something's taking you longer than 90 days, in fact, actually, once you get beyond about the 30 days, you should start thinking about this. It almost always means we're doing things that we shouldn't be doing. Things that aren't really in our wheelhouse, maybe we could edit, but we don't really like doing it. And so we procrastinate on it, or maybe we're just no good at it at all. We look at Grammarly and we're not even sure if Grammarly is right or wrong on the things it flags. So that's part of it. More importantly, though, the biggest trick, the biggest tip, almost nobody is really a writer, but everybody needs to be an author. And that's why I encourage everybody to use speaking to write, to be able to write out your book, because everybody that I've ever met, regardless of how broken their English even might be, when you get them on a roll about something that they're passionate about, they can go on, and they could be the most articulate person on that one subject as anybody that you've ever ran into. And so when we use speaking to write, that brings all the content out. And then, yes, there are very good professionals at story development to help you identify what's missing in that. And of course, grammar editors, people that just dig, looking through and seeing if the commas are in the right place and all that kind of stuff. And those are the two really big secrets: is don't do what you suck at, and really just speak out the content. Even better yet, I do interviews with people so that I can actually ask them the questions and lead them down the path of getting all that content out, very quickly.
And the things that you've been mentioning today are very soundbitey, and I can tell that you yourself practice what you preach, and you've used this speaking to refine your material. And so there's that aspect of it. There's the like you don't even have to wait to be published to start speaking, and if in fact that might help flesh out your ideas. And I love what you said there in one of those sort of sound bites that we'll pick that out of there because it was so good. It was that there is being an author and there's being a writer, and most people aren't writers. They don't like Grammarly or seeing where the commas go. But as far as being an expert and being passionate about such and such subject, everyone has that sort of potential. It's just a matter of not trying to force those weaknesses. If you're not a writer, if you'd rather get it transcribed, then great. If you'd rather hop on an interview with Steve and Steve asks you all the right questions and lead you down the path, even those levels of excitement that you thought, oh, who wants to hear about that? But then someone listening from the outside says, this, you gave this short answer, but let's lead you down the path some more because this is what people really want to know about. And so there's this process of speaking and authoring your book, not necessarily writing, but getting the book done, and then getting it published on Amazon. And then is sort of the plan to keep the book selling, the sort of post bestseller status. Is that customized for everyone, or do you recommend everyone appears on podcasts, or what should someone do to breathe life into the sales of the book and make sure that the book continues to sell?
Well, for the most part, I really tell people, you can sell the book, but it's probably not the best use of your time as far as marketing and your sales efforts goes. You're going to make $1 or $2 off of each book that you sell. You can make a little more than that if there's some techniques to do that, but let's just go with basically you're going to make about $1 off of each book. To make $1,000, that's 1,000 sales. If you have for example, course that sells for $9.99, one sale covers 1,000 sales of the book. And even if whether you're speaking on podcasts or you're doing social media or any of the other marketing things you can do to do that, your sales funnels for both of those are so close to one another that it's just so much better of a use of your time and allows you to be able to really reach and meet the needs of people. There's, multiple different ways you can monetize the content of what's in your book, and selling the book can be one piece of that, but it's the one that is going to be the least bang for your buck, if you will.
That's wonderful advice. That I love that one sale of $1,000 course, we make one sale versus 1,000 sales of your book. And you hear this a lot, how people treat their book as like the first step in a funnel. And when you flip through the book, they have, QR codes and links and resources, and, says things like, well, if you want to get such and such downloadable that's directly related to the book, go to this link, enter your email, and then there you go. Now they're using their book to build a list. And so along those lines, since we're in the last sort of 5 or 6 minutes of our conversation here, Steve, do you think, is there like untapped potential with books? Is there something that just drives you crazy as far as you see someone with a book and like there's like missing pieces about what they should be doing to get customers or funnel someone into a course? Like, what drives you crazy about what's missing with books and authors these days?
Well, number one, because, I make bestsellers. It's what I do. I've done it 4,000 or 5,000 times, have a 100% success rate of doing that. Bestseller is the beginning. Bestseller is what should be happening with your book day one. If it hasn't, that's okay. I've worked with people that their books are even 20 years old and made them bestsellers. So that's number one. You've got to have that credential. Just like if, again, you wanted to be a doctor, you've got to graduate medical school. You've got to have that credential of, hey, I graduated medical school. Nobody asks their doctor, hey, were you number one in your class? Did you graduate from Harvard? Or did you go to Bob's University down the road and you were the last guy out the door, but you passed? You know what I mean? He's still your doctor and he prescribes your medicines to you. The same thing's true with bestseller. It's the start of the thing. So that's number one is, if your book's not a bestseller, you're never going to get there. Secondarily, beyond that, and probably at least as important, really boils down to having a plan. And that's where most people fail is that they just kind of go willy-nilly with it. They just kind of think that if they write the book, the whole world's going to flock to them. And that's not really the case. You've got to have a plan and a process and a program that you can lead people to. And then you've got to work that plan. It's not magic. It's about marketing.
I love it. And so if someone out there in podcast land says, I'm an author, maybe I have a book that's 20 years old, or I have a half-finished book, or I have an idea for a book, and I know I need Steve's help. I know that I need to get to that bestseller status. That way I can have that credential, that line item on the resume. That way I can say that I've done it. And I need to have that book, not because it'll solve all my problems, but because it'll be a business card. But I know I might be missing some of these key components. Maybe I don't know how to become a bestseller. Maybe I don't know how to make that kind of back end funnel in that course to send someone to. And they need your help, Steve. And they need to find out what you have going on and about your company and your services. Where should someone go? What's your website? And what will they find?
So my website is thrivingbestsellers.com. But I like to make it easy for your people. So what I did was I want to give them a free gift. If they go to ongoingwealthguide.com, that's ongoingwealthguide.com. There's a free gift there. It's a 5-step program that will help you be able to generate ongoing wealth abundance process systems in your life. One of the pieces of that is my free Write Your Bestseller in 1 hour workshop. That's part of that. We're going to walk you through all those 5 steps, and they really are just rinse and repeat. Do this and then do it again and then do it again. And that's how you create ongoing wealth. That's a totally free gift. And actually, if, when they get to the checkout page on that, there's a link right there. You can book a 15-minute free call with me and we'll help you with the strategy and all you need to do to go from where you are to where you should be.
Beautiful. Ongoingwealthguide.com. And what's been great, Steve, about just hearing about your tips and just seeing you in action is that it can be simple, but it's a matter of having that plan and following through with it and doing those steps and doing the things that are easy to talk about but hard to do. Appearing on podcasts, having these sort of sound bites to get your point across, having kind of stories and little jokes at the ready, and to have something for sale. So that way, if someone says, "Ooh, well, I really liked what Steve had to say today. Now I want to go to ongoingwealth.com and take the next step and get some of those free resources and discover some amazing secrets like how to write my bestseller in an hour." That way, they don't have to just keep on playing the wish game and the what if game and wondering why the plans they didn't make haven't paid off. Well, it's because they didn't make them. And if you've gotten to this point in your life so far, it's okay, because you now have realized that you need a team and you need some of Steve's guidance. Like he said, he's written 20 bestsellers. He's been in business, in digital marketing specifically, since 1987. So why not take advantage of someone who's already blazed the trail and has already been that way, been down the path that you want to be on? It seems ridiculous, especially in this day and age, with all the information out there, to try to invent it all yourself and try to figure it all out, because by the time you figure it out, it'll change. So you owe it to yourself and your business to become an Amazon bestseller and to figure out some of this low-hanging fruit, this 80-20 that Steve's been mentioning, and to get your book out there, write your book in an hour, become a best-selling author, and then do all those other things that you should do to grow your digital marketing business. And so as people are going to, is the website ongoingwealth.com? Is that right, Steve?
Ongoingwealthguide.com.
There we go. Ongoingwealthguide.com. So as people head there now, do you have any ideas as far as a profound statement to end our conversation? Is there advice you wish you got 20 years ago? Is there a powerful quote or piece of advice that you want to leave us with? What do you have as far as a profound ending statement?
Absolutely. We need to understand somebody's waiting on you. There is a person sitting in front of Google right now that's searching for exactly what you do. In fact, you may do it so well and so easily that you wouldn't even count it as the thing you should write your book about. That person is desperate for the answer. And they don't have it because you haven't put it out there for them to be able to find it. And you need to understand, I love it. Lisa Nichols said this. She said, your gifts, your talents, the things that are inside of you, they were never meant for you. They're meant for the people that you're meant to give them to. So remember that somebody's waiting on you, and then be who you can be, the best version of you while it's called today.
I love it, Steve. You flip the script, right? People say, I'm nervous about putting my information out there. And you're saying it's the opposite. You're being selfish by keeping all these secrets to yourself. And so the next step is to go to ongoingwealthguide.com and figure out what that next step is. And thank you, Steve, for showing up, blowing our minds, and giving us some great bestseller advice. I love it.
Thanks for having me, Robert. I really appreciate it.